What's up, guys? Nightingale here, and welcome back to another balance adjustment preview for 1027. We're here 4 weeks early, but that's because last balance adjustment, they said that they were going to do one more to try to get it in before the new season, so this one will be for 2 weeks from now. Now, we've already covered on the channel Hwayoung's nerf. It is needed and quite funny to see how many of you are that butthurt about it as well. But we're here live on Twitch, so Twitch chat, say hello to YouTube. YouTube, say hello to Twitch chat. We got a few things that we're going to discuss today, so if you want to skip directly to the balance notes and you don't care what I'm about to say, go down to the timestamps below and start immediately where we start talking about units. Now, that's been said, we got something to talk about before we get started. Yep, I know. So let's go ahead and start this a little bit, and you'll see why and where I'm about to go with this. So, hello heirs, this is Epic 7. They're saying they're looking, we're already towards the end of 2022, and we'd like to sincerely thank all of our heirs for the support and being with us on this journey. With the balance adjustments, we plan to implement changes to 8 heroes, 2 artifacts, as well as balance adjustments to for Hwayoung announced on 9/30, which is what we've already covered. And these are the changes scheduled to take effect on the following update of 1027. Now, they're target adjustments. All right? They're going for Moonlight Hero, Remnant Violet, Moonlight Hero, Top Model Luluca, Moonlight Hero, Pirate Captain Flan, Vildred, Zahhak, Luluca, Bad Cat Armin, and Jena. Artifacts, Albastron, and Chatty. Okay, so that's where we're gonna pause this segment. Now, I know this is like beating a dead horse at this point, but I don't want you guys to forget, and I don't want them to forget that we know what they've talked about. So first off, let's go back to February 17th, 2022. This year, Epic 7 balance adjustment direction notice. Now, this was after a whole bunch of stuff, and they came out and made this whole post. Now, what I've done here is I've selected a part, and we've featured this in several of the balance adjustments already. But I'm not going to let them forget that we know what they said, because right now, not 1, not 2, but 3 Moonlight heroes are getting buffed this patch. So I want you to think about this statement as we continue on, and I want you to really think deep down, does this actually do what they are saying? So, right here, we're taking it from this segment. In the future, we will not improve 5-star Moonlight heroes that are not used as much unless we can confirm the words right here. We confirm that it is a way that will improve. So they're saying we confirm that it will improve the current state of the game. So we confirm that it will improve the current state of the game. We will do our best to prevent certain heroes from becoming exceedingly powerful, even if it's necessary to create new changes in the meta. We also to indirectly curb the power of some Moonlight heroes, we will try to improve Covenant heroes and specially change heroes further. So, remember, they said that they will not improve Moonlight heroes unless it will improve. Now, we're going to take another side detour, but keep that in mind, because we've got a lot to talk about here. Hi, remember this disgrace of a balance adjustment survey review? Now, I didn't really want to feature this again on the channel because there's basically 20-ish thousand really dumb people out there, and yeah, it's kind of a thing. Anyway, let's get out here and actually show this, because this is something that I want you to look at, especially with what we're about to talk about today. So this survey was an absolute disgrace of a survey, and there needs to be other ways of doing it. This thing was just botched all the way around, but they were proud and they wanted to promote this stuff. So, let's look at the Moonlight heroes that y'all voted on and see what got buffed, okay? Silverblade saw a buff this year. Congratulations. Desert Jewel Basar saw a buff. Faithless Litica saw a buff. Specimen says, Ghost Town. Martial Artist Ken, Ghost Town. Judge Kisei was last year before this was released, so they haven't got the second Judge Kisei buff. Dark Corvus was buffed. Top Model Luluca. Oh wow. Quite funny how she's in this today. Remnant Violet. Oh wow, he's in this today. And then Last Rider Crow is down here with that, and everybody else is below that. So, okay, now keep in mind that Bad Cat Armin was not released at this time, so she's not in this. And we're gonna skip over this. Now, Covenant heroes. Okay, Haste. All right, says, still waiting. Everybody's still waiting for this. Destina saw a buff, Ludwig saw a buff, Araminta saw a buff, nobody needed a buff. Okay. Deanne saw a buff, Ray's seen a buff, Holiday Euphine seen a buff, and Xenos down here still not seeing anything. All right. Now, this is why I'm back here. Is for this. Here we are with the most, besides the Nun, and y'all extremely idiotic people who missed this, which we're gonna just hope that the 13% of people that missed this just clicked the ML5s and walked away. But Prayer Beads was rated at 6.3% and Iron Fan at 6.3%. And we still haven't seen the entire year these two artifacts get buffed. But other artifacts on this list has been buffed. Now, Upgraded Dragon Knuckles is Malim's artifact. We're still waiting for a slime rerun, so maybe there's a chance. Necro and Undyne, not gonna happen this year, because that maybe next Guilty Gear rerun, that'll see it. And then let's see here. Ancient Dragon's Legacy has seen a buff, and I think that's it. I don't remember if Tea Time saw a buff or Dux Noxus has seen a buff. But here we go with Prayer Beads still not seeing a buff. All right? Now let's go back to the balance adjustment and you'll see why this is actually triggering. Albastron and Chatty. We still haven't had the most asked for, the most commonly known artifact in the game that is known as complete trash seen a buff. We've seen other stuff get changed, but why are they refusing to work on this artifact? What is it about it that they're afraid to change? Obviously it needs a complete rework, but what they're trying to do, and I can tell you, is they're trying to avoid Alexa Basket 2.0. Because a lot of people will fodder that artifact, and a lot of people are holding on to it because it is one of the most hated artifacts in the game because it's absolute trash. So, when it gets buffed, it's probably going to be insane. But why this is frustrating is because technically, the more voted for units still haven't been buffed this year. Specimen says still hasn't seen a buff, but obviously Remnant Violet and Top Model Luluca, it needed a buff. All right, cool. Pirate Captain Flan is a new unit from this year. Post that survey. So obviously her kit wasn't jiving, but now let's start the actual balance adjustment now. And now keep in mind the words that we read earlier, which is, we confirm that it will improve the current game state. Right there. That. All right? So, let's jump into this and see what's up. So first off, number one, Remnant Violet. Now we're gonna skip over the befores unless absolutely necessary, so let's jump in. So, Sword Flash, this is his S1. They're changing his Soul Burn is what it looks like. So, he's now got a extra turn on his S1 for 20 souls. Alright, so now Concentration Awakened is at the start of the battle. Oh, this is his passive. At the start of the battle, and at the end of the caster's turn, has a 100% chance to increase invasion of the caster for 1 turn. After successfully evading, gains 1 focus. when the focus is at 5, after attacking or being attacked, consumes all and uses Massacre against a random enemy. Okay, I'm sorry. I know a lot of you Remnant Violet simps out there really wanted him to get a buff, but I think part of the joy of Remnant Violet is actually being able to dodge around him. And now that he's going to be able to ramp up Massacre on his own, kinda sucks. So, personally, I'm like, this... Yes, it helps it for those who want to use it, but going against him now kind of takes some of the fun strategic value of you normally had to just dodge him or kill him in one shot, which is still not an issue for certain units. Certain units can just obliterate him. So it's not really a big issue, but it was still the mechanic of being able to jump around him. Now, Massacre after increases the attack of the caster for now 3 turns before attacking with a sword, penetrates the defense by 50%, and his cooldown is now 1 turn sooner. So let's read their notes on what they were thinking here, because this is kind of interesting. Remnant Violet is a hero who gains focus by consistently evading and attacking. When his focus is full, consumes all focus to use Massacre to suppress a random enemy. However, if he is not attacked, he could not use Massacre even if his focus was full. Exactly, that's the whole point of why it was great to dodge him. Though these adjustments, he will still be able to participate in battle more actively, as he can also use Massacre against a random enemy after attacking an enemy when his focus is attacking an enemy when his focus is full. In addition, the duration of his buff granted to Massacre will be extended, and its cooldown will also be decreased. Soul Burn effect will be changed to grant an extra turn after using Sword Flash, which will allow him to gain focus more easily, as well as increase his offensive contribution to battle. So, again, my short take is he didn't need this. I think it was more of a survivability thing, because now, in my aspect, you now basically have to you can't just ignore him now and let him do his thing. So now you've kind of got to go after him and just get rid of him. So your thought process on playing him basically has to change now, as he's now the one you got to go kill first. Versus, so that he doesn't ramp up. Alright, so now, top Model Luluca. So, victory pose. I'm going to be 100% real. I'm not 100% sure on this. I'm assuming this is her S2, if I remember correctly, judging by what this sounds. Because of the extra turn. So, manifests the suit of energy, increasing combat readiness of all allies by now 20%, and grants the caster extra turn. Alright, so now victory pose awakened. So this is her S2. Increasing combat readiness and increasing the attack of the caster for 2 turns and grants the extra turn. Yes, that is her S2. Alright, so S3 is what I'm assuming demolishes. Yes. Attacks the enemy with dimensional energy before granting the caster stealth for 2 turns and increasing the attack of all allies except for the caster for 2 turns. When the enemy is defeated, inflicts extinction and decreases the caster's skill cooldown by 1 turn, and damage dealt increase proportional to the caster's speed. So then they're moving her imprint concentration over from attack to whale chance. Okay, so they're taking some of her detonation. Alright, freeze up for other stats. Okay, so top model. Let's see what they say, then because I'm very curious about this one. Top Model Luluca was used to inflict extinction on enemies after enhancing herself with victory pose and using demolish to defeat enemies. However, her overall contribution in a battle was not enough when she could not defeat the enemy. Through these adjustments, she will be improved to increase her overall contribution in battle. First, victory pose will be adjusted to increase her combat readiness of her allies so that the next ally can take their turn more easily. Moreover, demolish will be adjusted to grant increased attack to all allies except for the caster so that she can boost the offensive abilities of her allies. Lastly, imprint concentration effect is changed from increasing her attack to increasing her critical hit chance to help players optimize their equipment more easily. So, all right, from what I've gathered from people talking to me about Top Model, this doesn't do a darn thing for her other than make her be able to give her allies an attack buff. That the issue with Top Model was the meta itself. That nobody's going to be using the unit just because it's granting attack buff, because there's a bazillion other units out there that are going to do it and probably safer. So, does this open up the option of being able to use her more? Maybe. The increased combat readiness is 5%. That'll make you split some units difference, but that's not going to game change and get her to be usable more. The increased attack to all allies is cool, especially in the age of everything's stripping and everything's doing stuff. So, if she happens to be first, great. She's got an attack buff for herself, and then attack buff to everyone after that. So, overall, it seems like this was a wasted buff for her because this isn't the issue with Top Model, it's the meta itself. So I would like to see how the crit hit chance changes her damage. Yes, her damage is increased proportional to the speed, but her attack was definitely needed from what we had tested with damage calculators a while back and seeing how that works. So here we go. They're buffing another unit, but again, keep in mind what we talked about is that they can confirm that this will help change the meta. All right, Pirate Captain Flan. So, Execution, this is her S1? Attacks the enemy with a gun with a 75% chance to steal one buff. At the end of the turn, detonates burn and bomb effects inflicted on the target. Yes, this is her S1, because this is not her S3. So, okay, interesting. This is going, so now she's stealing a buff, trying, I guess, to make her more self-sufficient somehow. Maybe. So Scourge of the Sea, after. So this is her passive. Effectiveness increases by 50% when attacking. Cannot trigger a critical attack. Okay, so they're taking away any of her crit chance for anybody who built her on... Not that you would have built her on that, but now they're completely removing that. So now they're stating it. She cannot remove do a critical hit. I don't see it anywhere in her original kit. Okay, so redirects 30% of the damage suffered by the caster to the foremost ally when one or more damage sharing effects is granted. Only the strongest is applied after using Execution. When the caster has a buff, activates Hunt. Hunt can only be activated once every 2 turns. Hunt raises morale of all allies, increasing combat readiness by 15%. So Full Burst, Awakened, because we don't care about the non-awakened, increases attack of the caster for 3 turns, and attacks all enemies with a barrage of cannon fire, inflicting burn and planting bombs for 2 turns, before decreasing combat readiness now by 30%, and increases combat readiness of the caster by 50%. Okay, so let's see if this is what they say, if this is going to actually help and fix what's going on with the game. So Pirate Captain Flan is a hero who can suppress the enemy by utilizing her skills, burn and bomb effects. However, her skill set was difficult to use in a chain and had too many variables, making her a difficult hero to use. To strengthen her weakness, her effectiveness will be increased greatly, but her attacks will no longer trigger a critical hit. After the adjustments, she will be able to contain enemies more effectively as it will be easier for her to inflict debuffs, such as burn and bombs, on the enemy with high effect resistance. Moreover, the duration of the buff granted by the skill Full Burst will be increased to increase her overall damage dealt. Also, the amount of combat readiness that is reduced by the skill will be increased so that she'll be able to gain her turn more easily after using her skills. Lastly, Execution will now have a chance to steal a buff from the enemy, which will help her suppress the enemies by burn and detonating bombs. Okay, so they are tone deaf with this unit. We had a very long conversation on Zahhak's podcast a while back when she was first released, and we talked about this with several RTA players from many different walks of life, and it still doesn't change the fact she's literally a walking minesweeper. There's not a single mine that she can't trip at this point. Like, it still doesn't change that fact. That's one thing that makes her a bad ML to begin with. Not that she's actually bad, but everything can be tripped. She can trip counterattacks, she can trip Politis' passive, she can trip extra counterattacks, she can trip all sorts of types of mechanics in her kit. So, that's one of the problems with AoE type units, just in general. So, okay, she's got that. But now, let's look at actually her kit. So, they talk about increasing her effectiveness. All right, cool. But how does this change the fact that the most dominant cleansers out there right now are Mediator Koeric, Designer Lilibet, you have Ed from the Full Metal Alchemist collab, and you have Champion Zerato. All right, so right there already is an issue against her kit, is the people that see this coming a mile away, they're going to completely take care of it, and it doesn't help anything. Then you have the whole Soul Weaver barrage of cleansing debuffs. So, was this really what she needed? Great. If you can get this through and you can set everything up, great. It also doesn't help the fact that the one artifact she really needs belongs to Summer Asteria. They didn't give her enough viability in her overall kit because she really needs Star of the Deep Sea or Song of the Deep Sea, whatever the Summer Asteria's artifact is. So, is this going to really help? It might help her some, but it still doesn't change the fact that she's a walking minesweeper. It doesn't help that she still needs to. She really needs to have Summer Asteria's artifact. It doesn't change the fact that the vast amount of cleansers out there really just screw this kid over to begin with, and that's just kind of, again, part of the issue. Stealing buffs? What buffs? Everything out there strips these buffs to begin with, so chance to steal the buffs, you can't, because you've made so many openers out there strip these buffs to begin with. So, it's not necessarily to help her out in the beginning. Think about how your game plays a little bit more, and maybe you would understand that this wasn't the right direction. Sure, it's a buff, sure, it'll help, but stop stealing buffs, or stop taking buff reductions, stop dispelling everything, and maybe more buffs would be up for her to steal. Alright? So, let's move on into the Covenant heroes. But again, these were 3 ML5s that they said will change the meta. Again, guys, just to rub this in the future, we will not improve ML5 heroes that are not used as much unless we can confirm that it is a way that will improve the current game state. We confirm that it'll improve the current game's state. So here you guys go. These 3 units, these 3 ML5s are going to improve your game state. Can't wait. Let's see what happens. Alright, so again, Hwayoung has already been covered in a prior video and in a prior notice, so she's not in this, so these aren't the only ones. In case you are skipping around and you've gotten down here to the Covenants, she has already been addressed in what they're doing to it. Now, I just want to throw this in here really fast. You guys are overreacting about her tweaks, nerfs. Just call it what it is. It is a nerf. She's going from complete colorblind killing everything to now doing what her original job was supposed to do, which was be a tank buster. The few salty people out there that are upset that she is no longer going to colorblindly kill everything, you need to realize this is a normal RGB, not an ML5. If it was an ML5, great. All right, so Vildred. Vildred is in this. Increased damage dealt, increased damage dealt, increased damage dealt. I would like to just hear me out. I never knew he had a damage issue. Because every time I saw him pop off, he shredded through units. His exclusive equipment was great. I didn't know that the only RGB 5-star speed imprint was lacking in damage, because last I checked, he was a cleanup unit that goes second or third so that he can sit there and keep cycling his skill over so that he can just continually shred things. But let's see what they have to say, because they're trying to make this be up on par with an ML5. All right. Vildred is a hero who deals additional damage to enemies with his skill. Dancing Blade after defeating enemies with his skills, Sweep and Blade Ascent. However, the damage dealt was not enough to easily defeat enemies. With these adjustments, damage dealt by all of Vildred's skills will be increased to fulfill his role more effectively. Okay, so I guess he's not killing tanks fast as they want him to, so increased damage dealt. It's all we got. Increases damage dealt on a unit that already disgustingly kills units. So I guess if it's not one-shotting tanks, it's not doing enough damage. Good job, Smilegate. Can't wait. All right, Zahhak is getting a buff. Again. And an exclusive equipment this year. I guess he's still... I don't understand. A unit that can already 2-tap an Apocalypse Ravi needs a buff. Guys, do you see what we're saying here? A unit can already 2-tap an Apocalypse Ravi needs a buff. Let's go in. So, elaborate plan after. Dispels 2 buffs from an ally and the caster before increasing combat readiness of the ally by 15% and grants the caster an extra turn. Stupid. Stupid. Granting a barrier, so they're removing his barrier. Cool. All right, because his max health is like -0, so that barrier's thin as everything. So let's see what they have to say. Zahhak will be adjusted to help him utilize his skills. Elaborate plan, more effectively. Barrier granted by his skill. Elaborate plan will be changed to increase combat readiness of the ally to help target an ally to be granted with a turn sooner. In addition, combat readiness increase effect will be granted to the caster, will be changed to grant an extra turn so that he can use his skill's elaborate plan and execute in a chain. So basically what they're allowing you to do is if he gets debuffed, you can now basically attack with your attack, get him attack buffed, cleanse, CR push somebody, and then now you can go immediately into his S3. Great. Absolutely great. I didn't know, again, I didn't know he needed a debuff, or needed a buff, but hey, there's so many units in this game that I guess don't need a buff. I guess Sez doesn't need a buff now, because why? Zahhak's just gonna delete anything in front of Sez, or maybe Sez in general. Your Sez is now named Zahhak, so I guess just stop asking for Sez buffs and just ask for more Zahhak buffs, and whatever Sez did, Zahhak will now do 100 times better. But yeah, cool, great. Another RGB that didn't need a buff, and it's gonna be stupid. So yeah, when he gets his turn, goodbye All right, so Luluca. Now, I'm not gonna lie, this actually does kind of warm my heart a little bit. All right, so Wave of Vengeance, this is her S3. Attacks all enemies with the power of Ruin with a 100% chance to decrease defense for 2 turns. Congratulations, your Wyvern team just got a little bit better. You can now run her with her full skills on, because now this is just a guaranteed defense break, making your life a little bit easier. And actually, this probably will help your Wave 1, because guess what? Actually, this is now better. This is now better, because you now get Luluca out in front, 100% chance to defense break. Clarissa comes up number 2, will now probably wipe Wave 1 with a defense break fairly easily. This probably just made your Wyvern team 1,000 times better. So, congratulations, Luluca. Luluca skills Wave of Vengeance will be adjusted to increase, inflict decreased defense on the enemies. We expect her to fill a role as a mage who specializes in inflicting decreased defense on the enemy. No, she's one of the best PvE mages in the game. Stop trying to sell her on what she's not. She's basically there to AoE now defense break Wave 1. This is fantastic. Actually, this is probably the best buff of this, especially for newer players. This legit just made Luluca amazing. All right, Bad Cat Armin. Keyword, Bad Armin is now getting a buff after her release. So she was trash to begin with. Let's see if this actually fixes her. Oh my god, they're removing everything from her. Okay, so attacks the enemy. So she's losing her injuries completely. Oh my gosh, she's losing the injury she's no longer an injury unit. Okay. So let's see what they're doing. So, are you ready? This must be her S1. Attacks the enemy with a giant shield with a 45% chance to provoke for 1 turn. Damage dealt increased proportional to the caster's max health. When used on the caster's turn, turns the attack to target all enemies. So, it's still that aspect of it. So, they're literally removing the injury completely. Alright, and this attack cannot trigger a dual attack. All right, catch. So this is the passive? Yes. After being attacked, has a 50% chance to increase critical hit damage to the foremost ally for 1 turn, before making the foremost ally counterattack. When attacked by an enemy inflicted with provoke or redirect provoke effect, chance is doubled. So 100% chance if you've landed a provoke or a redirect provoke. And then this cannot be triggered by extra attacks or counterattacks. Okay. Alright, is this it? Nyahaha. Attacks the enemy with a huge explosion. Not a big explosion, not a small explosion, but a huge explosion. Provoking for 1 turn. Grants a barrier to all allies for 2 turns. Damage dealt and barrier strength increased proportional to the caster's max health. And they're just straight up increasing its damage. She's getting fewer souls, but it's now a turn faster, and she can provoke for 2 turns now with a 10 soul burn. Oh wait, that's not Awakened. So after Awakened and increases defense. So it's provoking and increases defense. All right, so Bad Armin, Bad Cat Armin was originally designed to be a hero who could synergize well with other heroes, using her abilities to make her ally counterattack. However, she was difficult to use due to her passive skill set. With low counterattack chance, with these adjustments, her skill Catchem, we will have an increased chance to make her ally counterattack, and will have a 100% chance to grant the counterattack if the target target attacking her is provoked or under redirected provoke. Accordingly, her skill Are You Ready will be changed to provoke all enemies instead of inflicting injuries. In addition, her skill Is This It? Will now have chances to provoke enemies, and its soul burn changed to provoke enemies for 2 turns. Moreover, her to increase her survivability will now grant increased defense instead of increased speed. Lastly, her skill cooldown will be decreased by 1 so that she could provoke, granting increased defense and barrier more frequently. Considering her decreased skill cooldown, her skill will now deal less damage and acquire less soul. We expect her to contribute more to the battle, her being to provoke enemies. Again, this falls on deaf ears because, again, everything out there can cleanse this crap and it doesn't really matter in the end. So, yeah, your provokes are cool, but as soon as somebody comes through and cleanses it, alright. Now, here's your probable next specialty change is Jena. Jena's getting a full rework. Let's just start with that. So, Cold Blow attacks with a staff with a 35% chance to stun for 1 turn. Coerce now cast Weaken magic with a 100% chance to decrease buff durations of all enemies by 1 turn. And Coerce, her Awaken is with a 100% chance to decrease buff durations by 1 turn before granting immunity to all allies for 2 turns. Cold Snap is attacks all enemies with Frost magic with a 75% chance to decrease defense for 2 turns and a 100% chance to decrease combat readiness by 20. So, this is a 3-star with no specialty change, with no hope of seeing the light of day. But it's setting up for something in the future. Congratulations. We're not even going to give them the time of day because we already know what's up. All right, artifacts. Albastron. So they're completely... Whoa, that's a lot of stuff. Okay, so increases the caster effectiveness by 30, has a 25%. Oh, whoa. Ooh. Payra users are going to be mad about this one. All right, so increases effectiveness by 35%. After attacking with a single attack, has a 30 to 70% chance to inflict a random debuff on the target for 2 turns. Can only be activated once per turn. Increased attack, decreased defense, speed, and unhealable. Ha, that's great. Payra users are going to be so mad about that because this is actually better for them. All right. But hey, cool. Something else just to throw in her face. All right. Albastron is less utilized than other artifacts due to its low chance to activate in short duration. These adjustments, we will now have its effect change from having a chance to increase speed to inflicting a random debuff after attacking with a single attack, which will help the caster utilize the artifact's option of increasing effectiveness. We expect the artifact to be utilized in more content that requires high effectiveness and inflicting continuous debuffs. Again, you can clearly tell that they don't play their game. So, yeah, I can't tell you how many Payras I have seen running this artifact. I've seen a crap ton run RNL. I've seen a crap ton run her artifact. But I'm going to see 0 running this artifact now. All right, Chatty. This kind of scares me because this is directly related because of how the surgence of Chatties since Sage Vivian showed up. So this is directly, whatever this is directly because of Sage Vivian. Let's just go ahead and put that out there. All right. Before the start of the battle, grants a barrier for 2 turns. Great. After being attacked, has a 50 to 100% chance to grant a barrier for 2 turns when the caster's health is 50% or less. Barrier strength increased proportional to the caster's attack. Effect can only be activated once every 2 turns, and barrier strength is increased. Yeah, this is so actually kind of a nerf to this artifact. I'm not gonna lie. It was better for the artifact to not have the barrier turn 1, but now it has the barrier turn 1. All right, Chatty is an artifact that should be utilized by mages who need extra survivability. Opsig. But its condition to grant barrier was made limited, which made it difficult to use. Desert Duel Bazaar. Its effect will be changed to grant a barrier at the start of the battle, and the barrier strength will also be increased, which will increase survivability of the barrier. Yeah, no. All right, so these are the proposed balance changements and adjustments that will be scheduled for the 1027, and yeah, they're basically saying their usual stuff. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and turn it follower mode only off. We'll be answering questions in the order they are received at Nightingale1176 to get your questions answered. Let's do, start with 5 minutes because this video is already extremely long and we'll see how things are going. But yeah, pretty much this is another, kind of an out of touch balance thing because you don't play your game, do you, Smilegate, or else you'd realize the people that are using Chatty right now are like Sage Vivian users, so that when she gets 50%ed, Chatty then pops up as extra HP. But now you're directly allowing them to DJB this, you're allowing this to be op-sigged, steal the barrier, just another buff to be there. So, kinda, you messed up. Yes, on practice and in paper, it helps, but God almighty, no. We're getting 3 ML5s buffed, because why not? You know, it's not like, we needed the Strays buff. I didn't see a single person asking for a Strays buff. I mean, when we go back here, according to the community, again, this joke of a survey, even their honorable mentions was Bryceria, Designer Lilibet, and 22 other heroes were in this. But nowhere was Strays listed in this. But Strays needed a buff from last time. Now, we can say Pirate Captain Flan wasn't added into that because she didn't exist at the time. At least they are touching Remnant Violet, but this is just to show their shareholders, hey, we listened to our community. That's really what this comes down to. Vildred needed a buff? Okay, that's news to me. I didn't realize that a cleave unit needed a buff. I didn't realize that Zahhak, who could already 2-tap a Ravi, needed a buff. Luluca, great. It's now a much better Furious for Wyvern. Bad Cat Armin. Still bad Cat Armin. As far as I'm concerned, Jena is setting up for a specialty change. Cool. Albastron screwed over Payray users. Chatty screwed over Sage Vivian users. So, yeah, that's interesting. But if we're not going to have any questions, we'll wrap this up here in just a second, but I'll give you guys just a little bit longer. Let's see here. Where are we at on the timer? 2 minutes? Yeah, I give you guys just a little bit longer in case you guys are slow at typing like my dad. Oh my God, he's Mr. I'm over here. I mean, it takes him like 10 minutes to type literally a sentence. Don't ask me how, and the only reason he texts fast is because he has Siri do it all for him. So, oh my gosh. Yeah, so it looks like you guys got nothing. So Twitch chat, if you have any questions, feel free to hit me up in the comments below. I will try to get to them in the next 24, 48 hours. As best I can. Things are busy around here. I will do my best. But yeah, any questions you guys have, I will, I'll answer those for you guys in the comments below. Go ahead, YouTube, or Twitch, go ahead and say goodbye to YouTube. Thank you guys for coming and hanging out. I know it was a long one. We will be back. I think it's now being extended. This will now, the next balance will now be pushed back, so it'll now be longer, I think. Maybe, I can't remember what it was, but the balance adjustment, I think, is being readjusted. So we won't see it for a while. But yeah, you guys take care. Thank you again for sitting through and watching the video, and we'll see you guys in the next one.